אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ועת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה.
Welcome to the weekly Torah perspective after a cancellation of last week due to unforeseen circumstances. We're happy to resume our series of shiurim every week on Monday and then to be posted later in the week on YouTube. Please do leave a comment when you listen to the shiur on YouTube. It really helps to promote my channel and draw in a wider audience maybe. Not that I claim much validity for what I have to say, but I like to hear what other people think in their comments. Please do leave a comment if you feel so inclined, and maybe you even subscribe to the channel. Anyway, a double sedra this week, Mattot-Mas, a long combined sedra. And we can give a quick overview of what's going on. Mattos, of course, starts with the parsha about Nedorim and Nedoras and Shavuos, oaths and pledges and swearing and undertakings. Very, very important for the purity of language, that what you say is what you will do. And you have to be careful what you say. Not everything that you think should be said, and not everything that you want to do should be said. But once you say something that you will do it, do it. And then we have an episode of the war against the Midyanim for their conduct vis-a-vis the Jewish people. It is called vengeance, nekama. Maybe it's important to highlight this word nekama, nun kuf mem he. It's usually translated as vengeance. You could even translate it as revenge. But that is, as always with Hebrew words, not entirely a translation that covers the real meaning of the word. So the word nekama, nun kuf mem he, is, the root letters are really a kuf and a mem. And the nun, you may think it's part of the root, and some people learn that it is part of the root, but you have to always be in Hebrew on the lookout for this nun at the beginning of a verb. Because the nun at the beginning of a verbal form, we know from the nifal. The nifal is one of the forms of the Hebrew verb that expresses passivity, something that is being done to you rather than you are doing it. And that is, of course, when it is in addition to the root. So, for example, shomar, to guard, nishmar, to be guarded, kosav, to write, nichtov, to be written. That's when the nun is in addition to the root. But when the nun is part of the root and is the first letter, it still has a little bit of this flavor sometimes of passivity. I'll give you an example. The word to fall, the root is nun pe lamet, nofal. Nofal means to fall. But pal pe lamet is a root that means to judge. Lefalel means to judge. Plilim are judges. Lehitpalel, lehispalel, means to pray. To pray in that context means to place yourself under judgment, to look at the world through God's eyes rather than through your own eyes. And there is some, and of course, lehitpalel is a reflexive. It is something that you do to yourself. That's what prayer, that is what tefillah implies. Okay. Another example is, let's continue on the notion of nofal, nun, pe, lamet. Pe, lamet, we now see, means the judge. Nun, pe, lamet means to fall. But not just to fall by misjudgment or to fall because of judgment. That's a fall. That's a different fall than just to stumble. We have other words for to stumble, but to fall, to go from a higher state to a lower state, is a matter of judgment. It's important to keep these things in mind, to have a sensitivity, to have an ear for how the Hebrew language, in very subtle ways, gives hints to what the, call it the spiritual meaning of a root is. So here, nekama, vengeance, linkom, to take vengeance, is related to kum, kuf, vav, mem. Kum means to stand up, lokum, to stand up, or to be established. Kayem means to exist in an established state. Le kayem means to set up, to establish, to found. Kiyum means the continued existence of something. Something as kiyum means it continues to exist. So nekama can be interpreted as restoring a balance, restoring a situation as it should be. Settling an account is something that we know is connected to this idea of vengeance. But vengeance for the sake of satisfying one's own grievances, that's not nekama, that's not nekama. We have a prohibition. Lausita v'lausika, you should not, lausinka, lausita v'lausinka, you should not bear grudges and you should not take vengeance. Why? Because you yourself are not in a position to have that judgment that the situation can be restored in a way that is better for a future. That is not something that you can oversee. All you can do from your human perspective is to satisfy your own needs for getting even. But your subjective needs of getting even are not what the word nekama actually entails. Therefore it says that Hashem, God, is the nokem. He is the avenger, meaning ultimately he is responsible for restoring the proper balance in the world. So that is the word nekama, and therefore Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded to take vengeance on the Bnei Midian by divine commandment. It cannot be done otherwise. The same way, of course, this relates to Parshas Pinchas as well. Pinchas famously is praised for exercising the vengeance of Hashem, not his own vengeance, his own emotions in what he did, his own private motivations played no role whatsoever. The man whom he killed, Zimri, could have been his best friend. He would still have done it if he would aim to fulfill the will of Hashem. This is a word about the war against Midian. The word Midian itself is a very interesting word because it's related to midah. Midah means measure. There's something about measuring about Midian. Midian are a very ambiguous nation on the one hand, they manifest themselves as enemies to us in this week 7. On the other hand, Moshe Rabbeinu was married to the daughter of Yisro, who was the prince of Midian, or the national leader of Midian, and who was also the grandfather of Pinchas. Pinchas was, in that way, a brother-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu, as well as a great nephew, because of course he was the grandson of his brother, but he was also married to Zipporah's sister. These are the little tidbits of information that you don't hear every week. Okay, then we get the story of the 2.5 tribes, the Bnei Reuven, the Bnei Gad, and the Chatzi Shevet HaManashe. The request for settling on the other side of the Yarden, on the other side of the Jordan River, came from the Bnei Reuven and the Bnei Gad for economic reasons. They were very successful in cattle rearing. They had a lot of cattle, and they saw Eretz HaGilad, the land of Gilad. Istad and balm in Gilead, as they say in English poetry. And Ramat HaGolan today, the Golan Heights, are Eretz Gilad. That is the same area as Eretz Gilad. And that's where they wanted to settle. And if you have been to Ramat HaGolan, you know what a beautiful area it is, and how on these heights there are extensive grazing grounds for cattle. Moshe Rabbeinu was very worried about this request from the Bnei Reuven and the Bnei Gad, because he feared that there would be a repeat of what happened in the episode of the Meraglim, of the spies, which was of course years and years and years earlier in a different generation. That generation had by now almost died out, the generation of the desert. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu said. Your fathers made the same mistake of being hesitant to cross into Eretz Israel. Are you now repeating the same mistake? And they said, no, don't worry about that. We will go. Our request is because we see a better future for ourselves here. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, okay, fine, you can go. But I'm going to send Chatzi Shevet HaManashe, half of the tribe of Menashe, who never asked for it. He said, you go with them. And by that, he created a bridge between one half of the Bnei Gad, of the Bnei Menashe, who lived on the west side of the Jordan River, and one half of the Shevet HaManashe, the tribe of Menashe, who lived with the Bnei Reuven and the Bnei Gad in Eretz Gilad. By having somebody who has a foot in both sides, he created a bridge. This is something that we should remember, that when we have, for some reason, a split, you say, I'm not happy anymore, I want to part company, I'm going to resign from the company that I work for, or if you are one of the shareholders, you split off and you try another venture. Do not go without leaving something behind. To maintain a connection, to be able to hear what's going on there, not as a matter of spying on people, no. A matter of remaining in contact, having, as we say in Jewish parlance, have shaykhs, have some kind of way of relating to a place where you yourself are no longer, but you keep in contact, you do not let go. Because to build a relationship is a lot of hard work. To break off a relationship is easily done. It can be done in a matter of 5 minutes. So don't do that. That is what we learn from Moshe Rabbeinu's wisdom to send half of the Shevet HaMenashe, the tribe of Menashe, with the Bnei Reuven and Bnei Gad. Now, we now come to the main portion of our offering this week, and that is an analysis of Parshas Masei, which means the journeys. These are the journeys of the Bnei Israel, mapping it out from Mitzrayim, from the very beginning of the 40 years, until this moment where they stand at the threshold of Eretz Yisrael. And for the next Sefer of the Chumash Torah, the next Chumash, namely the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, we will still be in Arve Moav, in the fields of Moav. And the entire Sefer Devarim is one speech of Moshe Rabbeinu that he taught Bnei Israel in the last weeks and the last days and the last day of his life. And he gave them this grand overview of what the future will hold for them in Ha'azinu, what laws, he repeated some laws, he gave some of the things that he had taught them orally, he now also wrote down. Sefer Devarim, when we come to it, we will hear a voice which is different, the language is different. We hear the voice of Moshe Rabbeinu in Sefer Devarim, but not yet. The end of Bamidbar is this description of this entire journey. And it starts with Vayis'u Me'eran Meseis B'chodesh Rishon. This is in the 3rd verse of the 35th chapter. Say it again. Vayis'u Me'eran Meseis B'chodesh Rishon B'chamisha Osor Yom L'chodesh Rishon Mimachras HaPesach Yotzu V'nei Yisrael B'yad Roma Le'enei Kol Mitzrayim. Talking about the Exodus. They traveled, but that's the first stage of their travels from Mitzrayim to the place where they're now, Arve Moav, on the east side of the Jordan River. So all the way from Mitzrayim through the Sinai Desert, and then crossing over in Kiryas Yamsuf to the east side, and then all these desert stations where they camped, sometimes for a day, sometimes for years and years and years. They are mainly located in the beginning in the Sinai Desert, and then in the north part of the Arabian Peninsula and the southern part of Jordan. That's where you find them today. It's a big detour. You want to go from Cairo to Tel Aviv, there are faster ways to doing that. If you follow the coastal route, it's a matter, even by foot, of a few days, and you march into Eretz Yisrael. But we know, ever since Parshas Beshalach, we have already been informed of this big detour that the Bnei Yisrael made. So again, let's look at this pasuk. Vayisu me Ramses, b'chodesh Rishon. They traveled from Ramses, which is in Egypt, right? Named after the pharaonic family of the Ramessites. Ramesses the first, Ramesses the second, Ramesses the third. Very famous Egyptian pharaohs. Whether they were named after the city or the city was named after them remains to be seen. I'm not an expert on Egyptology. In the first year, in the first month, that is Nisan, on the 15th, which is the first day Pesach, the day after Mimachras, the day after they brought the Korban Pesach on the 14th of Nisan, Yotzu B'nei Yisrael, the B'nei Yisrael went out, B'yod Roma, with an uplifted hand, meaning openly and without meeting any resistance from the Egyptians. As it says, Leinei kol Mitzrayim. So that's the first stage, Ramesses. The second stage is in the fifth pasuk. You see, Vayis'u v'nei Yisrael me Ramesses v'ayachanu v'sukkos. And the Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, traveled from Ramesses and they encamped in Sukkos. Now look at the word Ramesses. Reish, Ayin, Mem, Samach, Samach. A Reish is 200. An Ayin is 70. That makes 270. Plus the Mem is 40, makes 310. Plus 2 Samachs together, 120. 310 plus 120 is 430. 430 is also mentioned as the Moshav B'nai Yisrael Asher Yoshvu Be'eretz Mitzrayim, the settling of the B'nai Yisrael that they settled in Mitzrayim. And on the face of it, it seems to mean that the entire exile in Egypt lasted for 430 years, which of course is patently not so. You can make the calculation and you'll see that that you never, even if you say that somebody was born on the day that his father or even his mother died, to kind of glue together the generations so that you now will come to 430 years, you'll never manage. The simple calculation is simple. Yocheved, the mother of Moshe, was 130 years old when Moshe Rabbeinu was born. Moshe Rabbeinu was 80 years old at the time of the Exodus. 130 plus 80 makes 210. And the entire sojourning of the Bnei Yisrael in Egypt was 210 years. We all know that. So why is it called 430? Why is the Moshav B'nai Yisrael Asher Yoshvu B'Mitzrayim, why is that called 430? If you calculate back, you see that 430 years before the Exodus is when Avraham Avinu was 70 years old. And it is the moment, the first time that he set foot in Eretz Yisrael, 5 years before Hashem called him. 5 years before Lech Lecho Me'artzecho, as we read in Parshas Lech Lecho. 5 years before, he had already been in Eretz Yisrael. It's very important to remember that Ramesses, the 430 of Ramesses here, is a very subtle hint to that first step that Avraham Avinu, even before he received the divine commandment, the first step that he set into Eretz Yisrael, into that future that we are on our way to. And where did he encamp? In Sukkos. Sukkos is written Samach Kaf Tov. If you add those letters up, you get 480. So they traveled from 430 to 480. They went through a journey of 50, from 430 to 480. What kind of journey is a journey going through 50? We remember the number 50. The number 50 is to go from Pesach to Shavuos, from Yetzias Mitzrayim, for leaving Mitzrayim, to Matan Torah, to being equipped with the Torah. That is called 50. Why is it called 50? Because 50 is one step above 49. 49 is 7 times 7. 49 symbolizes the full extent to the material world. 50 is transcending this material world and putting that material world in the service of spirituality, in the service of Torah, in the service of the Torah. That's already hinted in this very first stage of the journey. And we see that this journey is fascinating. It is full with secrets. If you count the number of stages, you will get to the number 42. There are 42 places. I have written them down here, and I could repeat them to you from Ramses to Sukkos, from Sukkos to Esam, from Esam to Piagiras, from Piagiras to Esam Moro, from Moro to Elim, from Elim to Yamsuf, etc., etc. You count them up, you get 42 stages. 42 stages is, this number 42 is an extremely important number. Why? But there is a little filler which some people say, and in many Siddurim it's printed on Friday night. It's also written in the Siddurim, certainly in all the Siddurim of the Sfardim, and many Siddurim of the Ashkenazim, as a daily prayer. And it's called Ono B'charach Gedulas Yemincho. A lot of people don't say it, and I can recommend that you should have a look at it, that you should have a look at these words. I'll read out the words, and then we'll go into it a little bit. What does it have to do with 42? Well, it has 42 words. And they are divided into 7 lines of 6 words each. 6 times 7 is 42. And already we know, of course, that the answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42, according to the great late Douglas Adams. Anyway, so let me read you the words of Ono B'charach. Ono B'charach Gedulas Yemincho Tati et Tzururo. I should clarify that I don't intend to say these words at this moment as a tefillah. The reason being that if it would be a tefillah, I would have to stand up. You should not say this sitting down. You should say this standing. And we'll come to why that is in a moment. So let's continue simply looking at the words. Kabel rinas amcho, sagvenu tarenu nauro. Well, I could read the Hebrew words, all 42 of them, but let me just translate a few words. Ono b'charach. Ono means please. We beg of you. B'charach gedulas yemincha, by the power of the greatness of your right hand. Greatness always means kindness, always means chesed. And gedula is another word for chesed. Ono b'charach gedulas yemincha. We plead with you, God, by or in or through the power of the kindness of your right hand, the kindness of your acts on our behalf. Tati et Tzururo, please release the one that is bound. Who is the one who's bound? It's the Jewish people. What are they bound by? They're bound by all kinds of things. Of course, in many periods in our national history, we were bound by tzores. The word tzores is related to a tzurur. There's an echo here of the word tzores, of the words of difficulties. But tzurur also means to be bound by your own transgressions, your own failure to live up to your task as a Jew. That's also called tzurur. Tatya tzurur. We turn to God in this tefillah and ask Him to release us from things that are holding us back. And of course, the things that are holding us back can be external to us, and they can be internal to us. The external ones are the easier ones to cope with. It's the internal limitations, the self-imposed limitations, not consciously self-imposed, but subconsciously by a wrong state of mind, by a state of mind that can do with rectification. So we ask our HaKadosh Baruch Hu to please rectify that. Kabel rinas amcho. Receive the song of your people. Rina is the word for tefillah. Rina, song. Gilo Rino, Ditzo Gedwo, you know it from Sheva Brachas, from Chuppahs. But the word Rino means both song and prayer. Sagvenu, Tarenu, Nauro. Elevate us. Cleanse us. Nauro, you awesome one. No, again this pleading word, no, please, Gibal, you are strong. The ones who seek your unity, who seek your yichud, who seek your oneness, kevavas shomrein, guard them like the pupil of your eye. Borchem, bless them. Tarein, cleanse them. Second time that we ask for that. Rachamei tzit koscho tomid gomlein. With the rachamim, with the mercy of your righteousness, tomid gomlein, always bestow them. Chasim kodash, you awesome or highly elevated Holy One, whereof tuvcho nahel adosecho, with the goodness, with your abundant goodness, guide, steer, lead your congregation. Adosecho, by the way. Adosecho, an edo means a congregation, but it's related to the word edus, testimony. We are a congregation because we are witnesses of something. We are a congregation not because of our own need to organize ourselves in friendship groups. It's very nice to have, and we should have it. And all you who belong to a shul that gives you that type of support, good for you. I myself am blessed to be a member of such a synagogue. And if you have another group of friends that you call your Edo, your congregation, and they are a support system for you, good for you. But the deeper reason why Jews gather, why Jews come together in a Beis HaKnesses, in a synagogue in Greek, is of course a translation of Beis HaKnesses, a house of gathering, of bringing people together, of having a unity that doesn't come from uniformity, a unity that comes from being gathered together and forming together a unity that is not derived from shared characteristics, but is derived from shared purposes. And the purpose of the Jewish nation is to be Eidim, to be witnesses. Witnesses to what? Well, it said it earlier already. Darshei Chudcho, the seekers of your unity, to proclaim the unity of God in the world. Yochid, you single one, you unique one. Ke, be, how would I translate Ke? I would say it's, you are exalted. You exalted one, Ge. You exalted unique one. La'am chopene, turn to your people. Zochre kedushosecho, those who remember your holiness, who proclaim your holiness in the world. Shavosenu kabel, our pleadings please receive. Ushmatza kosenu, and hear our crying. Yodea talumas, you who knows hidden secrets. The crying that people do is not necessarily what you hear them say with their mouth. The crying, the deepest crying that people do is the crying that you cannot see. There are no tears. There are no signs in the face. It's hidden deep inside them. But I think to be aware that people can be suffering inside without you knowing anything about it. But he knows. Yodea Talumas, he is the one who knows the secret things. So it's the one that you can turn to and don't have to worry about opening up. It's Hashem Yisborach, it's our holy God. He is there for you. And this is the tefillah of Onad B'Charach. It's a very, very moving, very, very important tefillah. Our Kabbalistic teachers have a lot to say about these 42 words. They relate it to the first 42 letters in Bereshis. There's a Zohar to that effect. It's very complicated, I don't want to go into it. But what they say is that these 42 words are a name of God. They are the name Mem-Beis, the name of Mem-Beis, and adds to 42, but it also stands for Maaseh Bereshis, the work of creation. And the 7 lines of 6 words each, of course, refers to the 6 days of creation and the 7th day, the Shabbos that followed them. And this is one of the reasons why on Friday night we say this Onad B'Charach Kedusha Mincha. It's another hint on Shabbos Bereshis, the Shabbos of Bereshis, which is, Shabbos is different from any other Yontif. Shabbos is not ours. Yontif is ours. Why is this so? Because we proclaim Yontif. It is, it's dependent on our fixing the calendar when a Yontif falls. It's given over to us. Shabbos comes. 6 days pass, the 7th day is Shabbos. And the moment that the Shabbos was given to the Jewish people, Moshe Rabbeinu said, behold, he gives you his Shabbos. Shabbos is something that Hashem, that is his, so to say, personal property, and he gives it to us. It is a treasure. Somebody who doesn't know what Shabbos is should once try it. You know, switch off that mobile phone and don't be anxious about the latest tweet that will come or the latest message that you will find on Instagram. Just switch it off. And don't go to the supermarket on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. If you want to play a game of tennis, do it on Sunday. Enjoy a Shabbos once and discover that it's not a human invention. It is a divine thing. It can only be described as a divine thing. And it was baked in right from the beginning of creation in these 42 letters already for the first parsha in the Torah, in Maaseh Bereshis. 42 standing Mem-Beis, meaning Maaseh Bereshis. But of course, if you look at the actual words of the Tefillah speaks about understanding. It speaks about human regret. We need to be cleansed. We are not complete. We are seeking God's unity, but we haven't found it because it's not manifest in the world in which we live. Why is it not manifest? Because we don't make it manifest. We are seeking it, but we should be the ones to proclaim it. That is Zalchei Kedushosecho, which is also Nahel Adoscho, or Adosecho, guide your congregation, that we can fulfill our purpose to be aiding to the unity, the yichud, the oneness of the creator of the universe, and therefore also the oneness of the universe itself. Everything is connected with everything else. Don't isolate yourself, because you are connected by so many threads of communality with other people, the people that you detest most. Think for a moment who they are. Think for a moment what they may be suffering inside that you don't know, only the Yodea Talumas, only the knower of all secrets knows. So think about people that you don't like to think about. And think how you can reach out and how you can find common ground with them. You'll be surprised how much common ground there is. As Shakespeare already said in The Merchant of Venice, if you prick us, don't we bleed? Meaning that he put it in the words of a Jew who was suffering anti-Semitism from which was normal in Elizabethan England. A Jew was a byword for a demonic being. But Shakespeare, as part of his greatness, was somebody who could see beyond prejudices. And although The Merchant of Venice is an anti-Semitic play, it reflects all the anti-Semitic prejudices of its time. There's, I think, Anthony Julius, the famous lawyer Anthony Julius, who handled a royal divorce, but he also wrote a book about anti-Semitism in literature, and now it escapes me, was it about Merchant of Venice or was it about T.S. Eliot? I think it was about T.S. Eliot, who was an anti-Semite and a fantastic poet, just like Wagner. I confess, I like his music, I don't like the man. But I really want to appeal to you to give a thought to people with whom you don't have much in common and try to find communality. You'll see that by that, your own life improves. Your own life is better. Because now you come back to this notion of vengeance. Vengeance doesn't belong to you. Vengeance belongs to Hashem. He knows how to restore balances. What you can do is restore a balance in your own life a little bit. And part of it is to let go of negative feelings towards others and reach out and build bridges. Just like Moshe Rabbeinu saw that it was necessary to build a bridge between the Bnei Reuven and Bnei Gad. On one side, he said, half of Shevet Amenashe should be there and half should be there, so that we do not lose contact. So that was I have to say this week. I wish you a good Shabbos. Let me quickly remind you that if you watch this on YouTube, do leave a comment. Maybe you subscribe. Thanks.
והוא עובר והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציא נברא לעת נשא בחפץ כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא עובר והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציא נברא לעת נשא בחפץ כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא עובר בתפארה והוא עובר והוא יהיה בתפארה.